What do you know? The weather's actually pretty quiet out there. What's going on, guys? Certified meteorologist Jonathan Keg is back with you. We're going to talk about why it's quiet and when that quiet stretch is likely going to come to an end. There is a day 7 highlight from the Storm Prediction Center to bring severe weather back to parts of the northern plains. We'll talk about that closer to the end of the video. I will put that time code in the chapter so you can bounce around. I know your time is valuable, but I do want to focus on why the weather is so quiet. I think that's important. I've had a lot of coffee today. There might be several rants through the course of this video. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. First and foremost, here is the water vapor imagery. Notice that west to east flow. Look at the white and green on your screen. Now, there is the opportunity for a few strong storms tonight in the southern plains and then also across parts of the mid-Atlantic. By and large, though, a lot of the country is on the quiet side because we are under the influence of what we call zonal flow. So the jet stream moving from west to east to get this big bouts of severe weather. We typically have the jet stream very, very wavy, oriented from north to south. I'll show you that later on in the video because we do have that happening. We call that meridional flow a little bit later on in the video. Again, that's what's going to help to create the potential for severe weather into the northern plains a little while later. There we go with the west-east flow. And by the way, we're going to go city by city and talk about your weather in terms of the temperature as well. Big time warm-up coming into the northeast. So here we go with the overall setup. And again, our upper level system, you see there's not many kinks to the jet stream here. We do have a little ripple coming down into parts of Northern California, Southern Oregon, and that's going to help to bring some scattered showers, some scattered mountain snow as well. But this is nothing to write home about. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up again that we do have rain moving out of Denver into parts of Minnesota, scattered showers and maybe rumble of thunder into Omaha and central Nebraska, and then a few scattered showers into Montana, into Wyoming. Again, I think it's important to highlight that, not just the doom and gloom. Of course, there's a lot of that on YouTube these days. There's kind of rant number one. I'm going to try to keep myself subdued, though, because I do think it's important to talk about all of this stuff rather than just the, oh my gosh, look at this. This just got worse as the thumbnail that I saw today. And there's really nothing even going on. Again, there will be a few strong storms today, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, into Nebraska. But again, we're not talking about outbreak status again because of this kind of west-east flow. Certainly a few rogue thunderstorms that are going to be on the stronger side are going to be there. So here we go, 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. This is kind of the deal that we have moving across the deep south. We do have an active subtropical jet stream that's going to help to spread some scattered showers and thunderstorms. But you see it right there again, relatively weak system. Moisture is still going to be around, and that's what's going to keep the rainfall potential. We are tapping into some of that Pacific moisture as it moves from west to east. So before we get into the severe weather update coming in for Wednesday, and again, if you do want to jump ahead, I permit you to do that. You can do whatever you want. Hit that time code in the description. By the way, if you're finding any of this helpful, hit that subscribe button. We are over 100,000 strong, growing the best weather community on the internet. We had the conversation. You guys have been great giving the storm report. So post in the comments where you're tuning in from and what the weather is currently doing at your location. I would love that. All right, so here's a temperature forecast. I think this is important, and this is something that we do here on this channel, is just kind of give you a couple day forecast here across the country. We can't really touch on every town. That would take hours upon hours upon hours. But just to give you a general idea that we do have the warmth building into the north and east, a little sliver of some cooler air into the northern plains, some heat into the southeast, and then some relatively cool weather into the Pacific Northwest as well. So that's going to be on Wednesday. Here we go, Thursday, as we roll through the afternoon, likely around 90 in Orlando, pushing 80 in Pittsburgh, 80 in St. Louis, low to mid 80s in San Antonio, Houston, Detroit. The warmth is making it towards you. Mid to upper 70s for highs on Thursday. And then on Friday, we start to watch some of the cooler air try to trend back in. Now, it's still going to be warm in Pittsburgh, warm in Philly, warm in New York City, some of the warmer days that we've had there. But notice in Green Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, Detroit, we're back to the 60s. We have some cooler air coming in for the weekend. So while we do trend up for a change, and again, I know we talked about this in yesterday's video, that boy, it has been crummy more often than not in the Northeast. We are going to have some of that cooler weather coming back into the Northeast. We're going to get the warmth to really build to the upper Midwest and Northern Plains as we get into next week, and that's going to help to fuel the severe weather threat. If you are paying attention to the weather ticker, one of the main things that we're going to be watching for tomorrow, as the weather as a whole stays relatively quiet, is going to be the fire risk. Now, it's going to be in the elevated, so this is 1 out of 3 on the fire weather scale. We have 2 areas highlighted. One going to be the desert Southwest, parts of Arizona, parts of New Mexico, parts of extreme West Texas, El Paso, just south of Albuquerque, just to the east of Tucson. There is where we're going to see that heightened threat, low relative humidity, a little bit breezy in that direction as well for you guys in New Mexico, parts of West Texas, and Arizona. So, again, be mindful what you're doing out there. And where we have a growing drought situation is in West Central Florida, really all of Central Florida, and then South Florida. Where we have the day to day elevated fire risk, though, is going to be Orlando and points to the west, closer to the I-75 corridor. This is where we have kind of the breeze mixing with the very, very dry conditions that we have had building for the last several months. That's you in Tampa, Kissimmee, Lakeland, Orlando, Apopka, the villages, into Ocala. So this is where we have, again, that heightened fire threat on Wednesday. Avon Park, Sebring, Arcadia, Port Charlotte, North Fort Myers, getting onto the west side of Lake Okeechobee. Now, this is coinciding where we do have the drought that is getting worse and worse. I want to show you this as a whole. Certainly, we have the worst of the worst when it comes to the drought. Parts of Southwest Texas into southern New Mexico, southern Arizona, into southern Nevada. Also, that growing drought, number 4 out of 5, extreme drought in parts of the panhandle of Nebraska. I'm just going to bounce around a little bit. Cheyenne, Wisconsin, we have Cheyenne, Wyoming, my bad. Rapid City, South Dakota, we're in that moderate drought. And then we also have extreme drought popping back up west of Minot in North Dakota. Where we have the elevated risk for fires tomorrow is going to be, and again, that central Florida area. We do have a severe drought going on. That's level 3 out of 5. This drought monitor, by the way, it's updated every Thursday morning by the United States Department of Agriculture. A number of things go into effect to make these graphics here. So we'll pass along the update as the week goes on, because this might get worse. As I said, this just got worse, the thumbnails, but the drought is getting worse in Florida, unfortunately, and there is no real shot of rain in sight, at least anything that's going to take a bite out of this drought situation. If you are tuning in from the Sunshine State, we do have a level 4 out of 5. This was just added on last week's drought monitor. This is for the southern side of Lake Okeechobee, west of West Palm, toward the northern side of the Everglades. So again, kind of a growing situation, a more concerning situation as we get deeper into the peak of Florida's wildfire season, which is March, April, into parts of May. Banking on the wet season getting here in June for my Florida friends, but some long range indications would suggest that it might be delayed a little bit. We might stay on the drier side of things even into June. So that's something we're going to monitor as we roll through wildfire season. All right, guys, I hope this has been helpful so far. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything that you want to see in these videos, see more of. Please let me know. Again, we're a community here. I let you guys drive the ship. So whatever you find interesting, we're going to talk about. Please post it in the comments, because I want to make sure that you guys are getting the most out of these videos, so we have this interaction in this weather conversation. So here we go. Day 7 severe weather risk is going to be there from Wichita to Kansas City, Omaha, Minneapolis, eastern South Dakota, extreme southeast North Dakota, and then including a lot of Iowa. Bigger cities at Des Moines, Waterloo, Sioux City, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, up to St. Cloud, Minnesota, take pretty much paralleling I-94 through the Twin Cities, through Lakeville, Rochester, Minnesota, just west of Winona, just west of the Mississippi and the Wisconsin border. So that is the threat area that we're going to be watching closely Sunday night, and then really as we get into the day on Monday. So this is when we're expecting a round of stronger thunderstorms. And again, it's always rare to see that kind of slight risk highlight on that day 7 outlook. So remember before I mentioned about the zonal flow. This is not that. So I'm going to bust out our handy dandy telestrator. This is what we had before. Pretty much the jet stream kind of nice and lazy, working its way from west to east. And again, with the heating of the day and a little bit of speed from the jet stream that is there, we can pop a few strong thunderstorms. Again, we're likely going to see that tonight in that general area. Also have a shot out into the mid-Atlantic as well. Again, I know this is for next Sunday into Monday, but just wanted to highlight that again. We're already seeing that as this video is being recorded on the afternoon of April 22nd. So here is the model spin. I mentioned before, we've got the jet stream all wavy, north to south orientation. We've got it bulging up here. We have it troughing over here. So that is meridional flow. Okay. Here is our big upper low rolling in out of the Pacific. It's hanging out southeast corner of Idaho into Wyoming, into Colorado. There is our dip in the jet stream. We're going to fast forward this now into Monday and watch this bowling ball, if you will, get a little stronger as it slides through the northern side of Minnesota. I want to actually take this back a little bit because it's right here. I'm going to add my pause point. So we're doing some real time adjusting to our graphic here because I want to show you. Let me add my pause and we're going to go back because I think this is important because one of the things we like to talk about in this video, not only give you guys a heads up, but I want you to kind of take away some of the science and the meteorology. So when you see some things, if you like to look at the weather charts yourself, you can be like, oh, okay, we might need to look out for something there. So that's important to me that we're also kind of taking something away if you're a weather nerd, like a lot of us on this channel. I don't know that I've been too ranty today. I thought that I would be a little bit more. Um, but I'm trying to let that subside a little bit. New Year's resolution as we're in April. Okay, so here we go. Here's our upper low again, and this is where we have the jet stream kind of round the jet stream rounding the base of the trough, and we're going to be watching the winds out of the southwest kind of blasting through at about 15 to 20,000 feet. That's early on Monday morning, and then it kind of lifts up into the low itself, lifts up towards the North Dakota Minnesota border. And then we really have this streak there of some very, very strong winds, again, at about 15 to 20,000 feet above your head there. That is going to help to fuel the severe weather threat Monday afternoon into Monday evening. And then as we go through the day, as we go through the early morning hours of Tuesday, as it kind of pushes to the east. So that's kind of an early heads up there. That's about all the info that we have. Again, a lot of things are going to change. This dip in the jet stream is going to look a heck of a lot different when we talk over the next couple of days, and certainly as it evolves over the weekend. Our weather balloon launches, those are critical, by the way. Contrary to what people might say on Twitter with some of the cuts that have been happening at the National Weather Service, okay, I can feel it coming. This is a rant. We need those weather balloon launches because without our upper air network getting the weather balloons, let me back this up. I'm changing this. I'm going back further in time. Stand by. So this is now on, this is going to be on Saturday. We would like to have our upper air network start to be able to sample this. Okay, how strong is that area of low pressure? What are the characteristics of it? And then with that, we make a forecast with that data. So if we're losing that balloon data, that's a problem. Most of the lapse in balloon coverage is going to be out in here at this time. But you really see models tighten up. It's similar to the fact like when the hurricane hunters go into a storm and drop those instruments into the storm, we get the better reading. Okay, this is what the pressure actually is. This is what the wind speed actually is. Here's where the center actually is. And that gets fed into the models. It's very similar. We do have satellites to kind of look down and estimate, okay, there is the swirl, but it's more, we need more of that surface, that upper air network. We need those weather balloon launches. Those are critical. So you're going to see some change until this area of low pressure rolls in to the west coast of the United States. Let me back this up even further. We're going to go to Thursday, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. So this is a very, very good example. And sometimes it can be long-winded, so I apologize. But this is a really good example because we have are very elongated trough right here, but there's also the upper low hanging right up here just off the coast of Vancouver. Um, a lot of things can happen with that. It can get stretched out. Like this piece could end up here. They could phase or come together differently. These few lobes that are embedded in here, those vorticity centers, that's what these bright red and yellow colors are. That's the spin in the upper levels of our atmosphere. That's why the title is labeled model spin. Meteorological would call it vorticity. But nonetheless, there's a bunch of stuff happening here. There's also this upper low right here. There's also this upper low. If something's not sampled right, it's not going to end up to the solution that I just showed you on Monday afternoon. Long range pattern, it would suggest severe weather is going to be possible, maybe even likely as we get into Monday, but finite details. What's the severe weather? Are we talking tornadoes? Are we talking hail? Are we talking damaging winds? A lot of that stuff comes into fruition with that. And I think that's about all I have. I was going to show you this. These maps have gone kind of viral lately. You may have seen these posted on social media. These are kind of long range outlooks from the CFSV2 climate model. This is from Northern Illinois University. This is the Supercell composite parameter. These do a good job, okay? Especially in the long range, kind of highlights where we might be looking at severe weather. The darker the colors here, the more yellow and orange and red, the more it's like, okay, we're might be biting onto some supercells developing. This, by the way, is for April 22nd to April 28th. So we are getting into that time frame, and it's highlighting the potential for supercells in North Texas, Panhandle of Oklahoma, pretty much right in the front range there. Western Kansas, southern Nebraska, to a lesser degree. That does kind of it. This is a little further east than that. This day 7 outlook, but I know a lot of hypers out there want to just post that and be like, "Oh my gosh, we're in for severe weather." They don't show you when it turns quiet. Like, I believe one of those showed crazy supercell parameters this week. Like the week that we're talking right now that I just showed you that it's quiet. So that is certainly a good tool to kind of, okay, hey, we need to investigate that area a little bit more. The model is showcasing we might have some shenanigans going on, if you will. We need to investigate that a little further. But still, it's not the end all be all. And certainly, what I just mentioned there about kind of if we have some bad data or incomplete data going into it, it's going to change the outcome of the story or what the model perceives the outcome of that story is going to be. Something a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or longer is it's going to just exemplify or it's going to really maximize that error even further. So just wanted to throw that caution out. I don't know how if I got that fiery. I don't think so anyway. But be careful out there because there are and again as we approach hurricane season and unfortunately that we're going to talk about that as we get into May. We've showcased some of the outlooks from the different agencies but and private organizations, and this is me just rambling now. So if you're still with me, hit that thumbs up button, let me know if you're listening to this ramble or not. But just some of the things to kind of look out for is that there are hypers out there, there are doom and gloomers out there, and it's fine. They can do what they want. We do our own thing out there. But my biggest pet peeve of that is people actually take that information and use it to make decisions. And we want to make sure that you are at least getting it from a good source. We hope that we are one of those good sources that you get some of that information for, and we'll work and strive to be better every day. And that's why, again, I would love for you to post in the comments if there's something else that you want to see us do on this channel. Please post that in the comments because we really do take that into consideration, and we really do just it's for you guys. We love the weather. I love the weather. All kinds of weather. I know a lot of you guys do, and a lot of you just want information. So I try to break it down in a scientific way. Now I'm really rambling. But anyway, I just wanted to make that point. You're going to hear me make that a lot as we roll into hurricane season because there's even more of that, believe it or not, um, as we get there. All right. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday. Be safe out there. We're going to be watching that extended severe weather risk coming our way Monday. That's going to be April 28th. We'll catch you soon.